So I just want to talk, we look at Salesforce as kind of a benchmark of a company that kind of puts the customer in the center of the experience. It's really what we aspire to do as well. How does mobility play into, that vision? How does mobility impact the Salesforce experience?
So for Salesforce, mobility is absolutely critical. We have been strong proponents of the need to move to mobility for quite a long time. Recently we launched back in December at our Dreamforce event a new iteration of our platform called Salesforce1. And Salesforce1 is mobile first and API led, because if you think about, for those that don't know Salesforce in the audience, we don't just do CRM, we also do servicing, we also do marketing, and underpinning that is the Salesforce platform, which is where we have nearly 4.2 million applications, custom applications built by different companies that touch all their different employees. And the ability to have that mobile, I wake up first thing in the morning with this in my hand and I go to bed with it in my hand almost. And I see more and more people doing that kind of thing. So mobility for us is absolutely critical, and the Salesforce1 was a very, very important step forward for us. And I'll give you a great example. I was with some customers last week. I was with the Daily Mail Group and a startup called Chapper. And both those companies are literally running their business on their mobile phone. That's how they run their entire business.
Excellent.
So it's absolutely critical.
Can you talk a little bit about what putting Good and Salesforce1 mobile, the new mobile application, because this is your latest application, right?
Yep.
What does that do for those customers? How do those pieces fit together?
Well, I think you said something very interesting in your opening remarks, and the word I want to pick up on is trust, because the tenet that we've built the Salesforce business on is trust. That's the number one thing we have to give you is trust. Because you're trusting us with your data, your customer data, your financial data, whatever it happens to be, and we will never do anything to compromise that. And I think in the world of mobile in particular, there's a fear or a concern that, if I'm making this thing mobile, am I effectively breaching my firewall? And I think this combination between Salesforce and Good is incredible because it removes that as a concern. It just takes that away. And so suddenly you can go to employees in finance, supply chain, manufacturing, yes, in sales as well, and give them these mobile applications. They're secure, they can get on with their roles, and everything can move forward. And I think the tenets that you put up in terms of the benefits are spectacular. So
awesome.
No, I think this is very, very, very powerful and very meaningful announcement.
Awesome, thank you. And then Gary, thank you for coming. Now you were actually one of the companies that started in the early access program. So maybe start by just sort of introducing M&G to kind of who's M&G, high level, what is it? And then maybe talk a little bit about your role specifically within M&G.
Okay, so M&G are an international asset management company. We've got approximately £250 billion worth of assets under management. And we've been running for about 80 years. We've got just shy of 2,000 employees working for the company, and my role within the company as head of user experience is focusing on them and their productivity. And the way I've described it to my business is about providing them what they want, when they want, wherever they are, because it is about giving them that capability for them to do their jobs.
And I'm going to ask you sort of the same question, which is, how does mobility, or how has mobility sort of reshaped your view of that endpoint experience, right? Which is really your area of focus.
Well, it's interesting to hear the story about the last thing I have when I go to bed is my phone in my hand, and I wake up with it, which almost makes you think that you've fallen asleep with it in your hand. But even on the way over here today, I'm going to admit it. I think we all have, if we're all honest. Even on the way over here today, I was taking phone calls, I was doing emails on the phone, and you don't stop working when you leave your desk. It doesn't matter whether you're in the building or if you're actually out and about, you're still mobile. And people have got this expectation now that their work comes with them, that they are their work, not a particular place. That brings that mobile premise all more important, and us enabling all the capabilities that they have expectations of using is of paramount importance. What we have to do, though, especially in my industry, because we're regulated, is we must make sure it's safe and secure for the person to use it.
Yeah. So you had early access to Good for Salesforce1, and so can you talk a little bit about what impact or what effect you've seen it had on those users? And then, my follow-on question is really, how are you going to define whether it's been successful? I think a lot of folks in the room get challenged on business case, right? How do you measure value? And so how do you know when something's working?
Okay, so when we rolled Salesforce out, obviously, as most people do with Salesforce, it's in its name, it's there primarily for sales. You're looking at your sales figures. And the people that are out and about that are doing the selling, that's where they are most productive. They're most likely going to be using a mobile device of some description. They're checking their mobile, they're going to see a client, they might be having an email with somebody, whatever it might be to check on something, and they've got that device in their hand. We couldn't, until you partnered with together, providing the security from Good and the capabilities of Salesforce, provide that connected world for them to have their email, their Salesforce information, and that ecosystem all together. If they sent an email to somebody, it broke away from the tracking of Salesforce. We're targeting the salespeople to say, track it all in Salesforce, yet at the same time the behavior is, well, I can't because I've got the mobile phone in my hand, I'm trying to do something quickly, I'm just going to send an email.
Out to native. Yeah.
How do you measure success? Well, that's the $64 million question of everything, isn't it? But the way I've described this to people in the past is, if you think about when you drive your car, you go to your destination, whether you're going to the airport or wherever you might be going, you travel to that location, and when you get there, you might have had a great experience. The radio is working. You didn't have a bump in the car. There's no knocking noise coming for a change. Well, my car makes a knocking noise all the time. And you get to your destination, and you're really happy. Whoever phones up the service department of that manufacturer and say, you know what, it did exactly what it was supposed to do. I had a fantastic experience. Thank you very much. You don't do that. What you do is you phone up and you complain. And the measure of success on this sort of stuff is really that complaint. It's the noise that you're getting from the people. If you get this right, if you get that experience right for people, they'll stop thinking about it. And we don't want to employ people to think about, how am I going to use that device? How am I going to track that information? How am I going to communicate with somebody? It should just be the things they're doing, and we've enabled that capability.
So success is when people stop talking about it.
Correct, and they start focusing on the important thing, which is their work.
Excellent. So you've been in early access, and I think we're going GA now, right?
Yep.
Customers can start getting it, using it.
Absolutely.
We're rolling it out.
Absolutely.
Excellent. All right. Thank you both.
Thank you.
you.